I'm Eli Gold, the voice of the Crimson Tide, but I'm not here to talk about football. Much has been written and said about football at the University of Alabama, but sometimes lost in the hoopla is the equally proud and successful tradition of the Crimson Tide's always faithful companion, the $1 Million Band. This famous musical group has become synonymous in the minds of Alabama fans with fall Saturdays, packed stadiums, gridiron classics, and a tradition of outstanding performances. The band, like the team it supports, has risen from obscurity to national prominence in the 20th century. The product that Alabama fans have come to expect on the field at halftime every Saturday is one of consistent excellence. This pride and dedication to performance can be seen throughout the glorious history of the $1 Million Band. To fully appreciate the Alabama Band of today, we must take a look back and understand the foundations of one of the capstone's greatest traditions. Opinions differ as to how the university's most famous musical organization earned its colorful name. However, one story is widely accepted by most band alumni and was even endorsed by longtime director Carlton Butler. On a gray Atlanta day, October 14, 1922, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets were pounding the Crimson Tide 30-0 at the half. The Alabama football team could do nothing right on that forgettable afternoon, and the Georgia Tech fans were jeering the Tide mercilessly. The only bright spot for Alabama was the snappy, inspired performance in the face of dismal circumstances by a group of young musicians who seemed determined that the Tide would at least win halftime. Champ Pickens, a Montgomery sports writer, was getting needled by other sports writers in the press box as a result of the lopsided score. One of the writers kept after Pickens and finally asked him flatly, "Champ, you sure don't have much of a football team. What does Alabama have?" Well, looking down on the field where the Alabama band was lining up to perform in the rain, Pickens thoughtfully replied, "Well, we've got $1 Million Band." The first band at the University of Alabama was formed under the direction of Dr. Gustav Wittig in the 1913-1914 school year. This 14-member organization grew out of the interests of a small nucleus of student musicians who were able to gain the support of the athletic department, administration, students, football players, and the university supply store to fund the purchase of instruments and music. The university organized its first military band in 1917, around the time of Dr. Wittig's departure. This student-led band increased from 21 instruments in 1917 to 28 in 1920. The $1 Million Band of the early to mid-1920s, attired in its distinctive white duck pants, crimson sweaters with white lyres, and skullcaps, gained remarkable acclaim in spite of the lack of formal leadership and funding. In 1927, the university brought in Captain H.H. Turner, a talented conductor and longtime member of the Cincinnati Symphony, to lead its fledgling band program. Under Turner, both the football and the ROTC bands grew in size and reputation. The 1934 Corolla said this of Captain Turner: "Using the military band as a nucleus, CAP has been able to produce one of the South's most colorful musical organizations, the $1 Million Band." This type of dedication made CAP the first significant permanent director of the $1 Million Band. In the early 1930s, As the health of Captain Turner began to decline, the star of another band director in the state, young Carlton Butler, began to rapidly rise. This combination of circumstances led to the unfortunate but humorous manner in which Butler became the new director of the $1 Million Band. Having heard that the Alabama bandmaster had passed away, Butler applied for the job, but was informed that Captain Turner had in fact not died, but was just rather sick. Embarrassed by his mistake, Butler immediately wrote a letter of apology to Captain Turner. Well, as it turned out, however, Turner did eventually succumb to illness, and this time Butler, more sure of that fact, applied again and got the job at Alabama. Carlton Butler would simultaneously lead as many as 4 different bands at Alabama, one of which was the ROTC Band, which played during federal inspections and parades. Given the title of honorary captain shortly after assuming this duty, Butler brought such distinction to this group that he was promoted to honorary colonel on November 1st, 1940 by Colonel William T. Carpenter. The title colonel would become synonymous in musical circles with the magnificent achievements of Carlton Butler. The first Alabama band under Butler's direction wore military-style uniforms with capes. Butler made new uniforms a priority for the band, and in 1936, the band worked to make this expensive $2,500 dream for 80 new uniforms come true. Nicknamed the Sam Brown uniform, this colorful attire would serve the band for the next 19 seasons. At the time of Butler's arrival at Alabama, the South's best band was reputed to be that of the University of Kentucky. However, after the $1 Million Band traveled to Lexington in 1936 and marched opposite the Wildcat Band, the Alabama Journal made the following assessment. Despite the excellence of the Kentuckians, it was obvious that the granddaddy of them all is the Alabama Band. That band can make a snake stand on his head or an elephant do a minuet on a needlepoint. Irving Berlin Kahn, the National High School Drum Major champion from Newark, New Jersey, and nephew of renowned composer Irving Berlin, came to Alabama and became Butler's first drum major in 1935. He wanted to fulfill his lifelong dream of twirling in the Rose Bowl parade. Kahn was so enraptured by the prospect of realizing this dream that he composed and published, with the help of his famous Uncle Irving, a song called Rootin' for the Rose Bowl. The bandsmen from Tuscaloosa would finally get their long-awaited opportunity to play in a major bowl game in the January 1st, 1942 Cotton Bowl. Word of the band's attendance at the Cotton Bowl even sparked excitement among the Texas media. The December 24th, 1941 edition of the Dallas Journal reported the following. Texas won't be disappointed in the University of Alabama's $1 Million Band. The band will be here in all its glory for the coming Cotton Bowl Classic, and the cadet musicians from College Station will have to do some pretty fancy stepping if they are to outshine the Tide bandsmen. World War II radically changed the face of the university campus. As hundreds of young men left Tuscaloosa to serve their country, all organizations on campus were affected. The $1 Million Band, which had its roots in military traditions, had been composed exclusively of men. With the membership of the band depleted, the continued existence of the organization depended on the admission of women. And so it was. Many observers doubted this smaller group of musicians would be able to produce the same snappy look and full sound that Bama fans had come to expect. The Little $1 Million Band, however, was up to the task when Alabama's Redcoats accompanied the Crimson Tide to the January 1st, 1945 Sugar Bowl. The Little $1 Million Band stole the show. The January 2nd, 1945 edition of the Birmingham News praised the largely feminine musical corps. Alabama's Little $1 Million Band got $1 million worth of rave notices after the game. Carlton Butler, director of the band, showed fans one of the fanciest drilled bands ever to appear in the Sugar Bowl. Don't just take their word for it. See for yourself.
The Alabama Band is called the $1 Million Band and is composed of boy and girl students of the university. The Crimson Tide music makers, dressed in traditional red and white, are all youngsters. Watch them go through their stunts, and you'll understand why the big crowd gave them round after round of applause. They're really good. Now the band spells Dixie before the Alabama fans in the West Side stands. The maneuver is reversed, and the band performs on the East Side for the Duke Rooters. The band forms an anchor and then finishes with UA for the University of Alabama.
Restored to its full size after the war, the $1 Million Band continued its business of filling stadiums with sound and filling fans with excitement. The dazzling final product that the $1 Million Band put on the field required close to 50 hours of planning, diagramming, composing, transposing, duplicating, playing, drilling, and memorizing for each 6.5-minute performance. The story behind the performance of the band in the halftime exhibition is one that combined the flair of a showman, the exactness of a mathematician, the skill of a composer, and the patience of a teacher. As the fame of the organization grew, so did its opportunities to play in the spotlight. Few times did the band ever shine more brightly than on January 20th, 1949, as it marched and played in President Harry S. Truman's inaugural parade. As was the case with many out-of-state trips, the expense involved in sending the band to Washington, D.C. looked as if it would prevent the band from attending. Coming to the band's rescue were Alabama's governor, Big Jim Folsom, and the citizens of the great state of Alabama. Governor Folsom successfully appealed to the people of Alabama to donate the money to charter the train and pay for the trip. As the Alabama band marched past the reviewing stand, the ingenuity of the colonel came to the forefront by poking musical fun at the newspaper that had counted this president out too soon with its famous "Dewey defeats Truman" headline. The $1 Million Band saluted a grateful and amused new president as it marched past him in the reviewing stand with one of Colonel Butler's favorite marches, one you may already recognize, the Chicago Tribune March. One of the most novel distinctions of the Butler era was the tradition of selecting a female sponsor to march in front of the band carrying a bouquet of flowers. This sponsor was selected by the members of the band at the spring concert each year and carried the title Miss Alabama. Up to the time that World War II began, the band's sponsor was the lone female member of the $1 Million Band. Sororities and other female organizations on campus each nominated one candidate for the position of band sponsor. Her presence added an air of elegance, dignity, and beauty to the band without competing with the band's performance for the crowd's attention. During the 1950s and 1960s, when most college bands added majorettes and flag corps members, Colonel Butler remained true to his desire to produce a marching band that, in its purest form, would command the attention and capture the imagination of the audience. Marion Acino Lofton, Miss Alabama for the 1956-1957 season, recalls her time as band sponsor.
Salt and Pepper, Hansel and Gretel, Homecoming and Reunion, Colonel Butler and the $1 Million Band. How can we think of one without the other? The Colonel was as much a part of the university as our diplomas and the lifelong friends we made there. It will never seem quite the same to the hundreds of us who played and marched under his direction. This dynamo of infinite patience, who gave of his time to teach a talented musician to play, or a novice sponsor to try to march in step with the same dedication, is gone now. With a twinkle in his eye, he endeared himself to all who knew him and left a legacy of fine musicians and band directors all over our state.
$1 million smile. Her name
The period of the mid-1950s was particularly painful for Alabama faithful. During the mid-50s, the Crimson Tide struggled through several losing seasons, its only winless season of this century, and a 20-game losing streak. Although the football team wasn't much to watch, the band looked sharper than ever, sporting its new dark uniforms with white piping and trim and a crimson and white plume. When Bear Bryant came back to his alma mater in 1958, he would make some quick changes, not only in the quality of football played at Alabama, but also in the look of the $1 Million Band. According to Colonel Butler, the Bear wasn't particularly fond of the dark blue military-style uniforms worn by the band. Coach Bryant said that it looked like the band was at a funeral instead of a football game, and he coined the term Undertaker's uniforms to refer to the band's attire. Wanting the band to look alive and full of school spirit, Bryant authorized the purchase of new uniforms for the '59 season. These bright red and white uniforms with the $1 Million Band logo embroidered on the front became popular with fans and gained the Bears' approval as well. Perhaps more than any other maneuver performed at halftime, one stunt is uniquely associated with Colonel Butler and the $1 Million Band. The famous time, temperature, and score drill, performed successfully for so many years by the band, consistently baffled fans and the media. A complicating factor was that the band didn't just form the score, it did so while playing music that fit the occasion. According to the Tuscaloosa News, May 19, 1948 edition, if Alabama has the largest score, the band plays Doing What Comes Naturally or Happy Days Are Here Again. If Bama is losing, the strains of There'll Be Some Changes Made or Give Me 5 Minutes More pled for better luck in the second half. On January 1st, 1963, the $1 Million Band had another presidential encounter, this time playing in the Orange Bowl for John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Let's watch and listen as the band performs.
Band of the University of Alabama is on the field. Let's watch them. The first thing that the University of Alabama band is going to do is form the map of the United States. They'll move into that formation right now. Their theme is a salute to the United States of America. There you see the map forming the peninsula of Florida moving your way. No, that's down toward the bottom of Texas, I guess, yeah. Now they're going to move and form into the shape of a Liberty Bell. The music, 3 cheers for the red, white, and blue. There you see it from the side, the cracked Liberty Bell. Next one is quite intricate. They're going to make an automobile to represent the industrial East. The music is John Henry as a steel driving man. This, however, is an automated automobile. The wheels are supposed to turn, and then they're going to take the top down because it's a convertible. There are the wheels, and there's the top going down right now. Salute to the East. There it is. There's the president, still here at halftime and enjoying this show as much as he has the football.
During his 34 years at the Capstone, Colonel Butler worked with men like Assistant Directors Yale Ellis and Frank MacArthur, arrangers Steve Sample and Larry Watley, and a host of band managers. Paul Alford, a French horn player in the band who served as band manager during the 1960-1961 season, recalls his relationship with the Colonel.
I had the honor of playing in the $1 Million Band under Colonel Carlton K. Butler from 1956 through 1961. One of my fondest memories of Colonel was in the fall of 1959 when Colonel Butler was completing his 25th year as director of the $1 Million Band. It was our first halftime show in Denny Stadium, and Colonel Butler had worked us hard getting ready to perform up to his high standards. When Colonel Butler started our halftime show that beautiful Saturday, October afternoon, he was really in for a surprise. The band did not play a single note of the music that we had worked on all week. Instead, the band formed CKB and played There Will Never Be Another You, along with several other songs dedicated to Colonel Butler. Unbeknown to Colonel Butler, the band, in addition to regular practice, had met secretly all week to prepare for this special show honoring him.
With the help of trusted assistant and brother-in-law Yale Ellis, Butler not only led the $1 Million Marching Band, but converted this band each spring into a renowned concert band, which toured throughout the state. Butler and Ellis worked together in promoting annual summer music camps and all-state bands, both of which drew promising high school youngsters from around the state to Tuscaloosa. His leadership in promoting music education in the public schools is evidenced by the number of his pupils who went on to become band directors. The magazine In Dixieland This Week had this to say about Butler upon his retirement. Colonel Butler and his bands will never be gone completely from the Alabama scene. Too many fine musicians have been trained, too many marchers put through their fast steps. It'll be difficult for many, many years to find any band in the state which hasn't been influenced in some way by the man admiringly known as the Colonel of Alabama. November 2nd, 1968 would mark the final home performance of the $1 Million Band under the baton of Colonel Butler. In 1978, the Colonel fondly recalled that performance in the address he gave at his and Mrs. Butler's 50th wedding anniversary celebration.
My last game here on the campus homecoming in 1968. What a day it was. I'll never forget it as long as I shall live. And I wasn't the only one with tears in my eyes that day. We did a patriotic show, had the chorus out there, the band, America's Beautiful, all of these, what I thought were beautiful formations. And over comes the Jets, right when we're playing America the Beautiful. I'd been retired from the University of Alabama for 10 years, and they brought me back here for homecoming, and I went to the pep rally, and I directed the University of Alabama $1 Million Band in Yale, Alabama. I won't enumerate everything that happened that day, but gosh, it was wonderful, and I went to the pregame, and at halftime, I directed the $1 Million Band in the alma mater. If that won't make the tears go down your face, I don't know what will.
Stepping into the shoes of a legend is one of the most courageous and difficult tasks a person can undertake. Everything about Colonel Butler's leadership was legendary, and the individual who would attempt to follow him would face unparalleled challenges in implementing a new direction for the $1 Million Band. Professor Earl Dunn of Ball State University came to the University of Alabama with an outstanding reputation as one of the most accomplished conductors, music educators, and administrators in the Midwest. Accepting what he believed to be a mandate for change, Dunn refurbished the band room, hired his staff from Ball State, introduced a featured twirler and color guard, and added the $1 Million name to other instrumental performance groups. The young lady who embodied the changes of the Dunn era was the first feature twirler, Karen Sue Rodberg. Dunn actively recruited the 19-year-old blonde beauty from Dayton, Ohio. Rodberg brought impressive credentials to the capstone in her own right, including the title Miss America of Baton Twirling. She was the first twirler to win 3 national titles in the United States Twirling Association, among a host of other titles. Let's listen as Karen Rodberg Moore recalls her time at the capstone.
Performing at Alabama during this time meant being able to follow the team wherever they played. To this day, the smell of exhaust from a tour bus brings back many memories, like stopping to rehearse on our way to Texas, where we practiced on a field that was ankle deep in mud, or performing in the lights of national TV coverage at the Liberty, Astor Bluebonnet, and Orange Bowl games, or standing in the end zone and having the legendary Bear Bryant take the time to chat with me before pregame. I was there on the day those rainy skies cleared the moment the Bear stepped onto the field. Coming to Alabama to be the feature twirler may have been a break in tradition according to band history, but the tradition of excellence has always been and still is a signature of the $1 Million Band. I am so proud to have been a part of it.
Other changes implemented by Dunn included changing instrumentation to achieve more variety in tonal color, stressing power scoring in arrangements, requiring a higher stepping marching style, beginning practice sessions with calisthenics, and labeling all band members with yellow markers bearing their squad letter and rank number. Dunn, an outstanding administrator, reorganized the manner in which the band recruited and oriented new members to the band program. During Dunn's tenure at Alabama, he developed an enhanced concert band program with great emphasis on the performance of 20th century music by a newly organized university wind ensemble. He also planned the state's first intercollegiate band, an event that was the first joint musical project in the state involving students from both the traditional black and white universities. The brief tenure of Professor Earl Dunn in no way diminishes his important role in the band's history. The new direction in which he took a tradition-rich and historically successful marching program stirred considerable controversy among some fans and alumni. At the same time, however, these changes paved the way for the band to stay on the leading edge in music and drill design for decades to come. In 1971, Dr. James Ferguson came to the University of Alabama as director of bands. Though his roots were at Ole Miss, Dr. Ferguson quickly adapted to his new environment and was warmly received by band members at Alabama. Doc, as he came to be known by his students, brought a fresh, youthful vitality to the band. He successfully transmitted his exciting vision of the purpose and function of a college marching band. During the early years of Ferguson's tenure, his priorities centered around increasing the size of the band and orienting students to his philosophy. After establishing his system at Alabama, Dr. Ferguson began to move the band in innovative new directions. One of these changes was to replace the traditional old uniforms characterized by the tall Busby hats. To replace them, Doc designed the futuristic Star Trek uniforms that the band wore from 1973 through 1983. This new design became the standard for other marching bands at all levels. Dr. Ferguson's drill writing during the mid-70s focused on visual impact and continuous movement. Out of this emphasis, Ferguson's drills evolved into using symmetry and geometric designs. His famous Position 7 was a beginning formation of 4 concentric circles. The rationale behind Position 7 was both beauty and efficiency. Within 4 seconds, or 8 steps, The band could transition into any number of shapes: spokes, wheels, spirals, diamonds, and other geometric designs. Ferguson also experimented with an impressive cover-the-field drill, in which the band covered the entire football field, including the end zones, at every 5-yard interval, vertically and horizontally. During the late 1970s and early 1980s, the marching band philosophy of James Ferguson shifted to a greater emphasis on producing a higher quality and quantity of sound. What he discovered in this process was that the traditional formations used by bands, although visually pleasing, served to hinder the flow of sound to the audience. Ferguson found that a multiple parabolic arc of brass instruments spaced closely together near the sideline could produce a concert-quality sound with a marching band intensity of volume. Ferguson put woodwinds on the outer flanks, trumpets in front on their knees, with trombones, baritones, and French horns behind the trumpets and tubas in the back. He called this formation the Wall of Sound, and it produced a sound like a recording studio. During Dr. Ferguson's tenure, the $1 Million Band almost tripled in size, from 120 to 350 members. In his 13 seasons as the director, the $1 Million Band traveled to the Sugar Bowl 5 times, the Cotton Bowl 3 times, the Orange Bowl twice, and the Liberty Bowl twice. The football team won 3 national championships, and Coach Bryant won his record-setting 315th game during the 1981 season. It was high tide at the Capstone, and a great time to be a member of the $1 Million Band. When James Ferguson stepped down in 1984, there remained in the $1 Million Band family one individual who knew the organization better than anybody else. In 5 years marching as a member of the band and 8 years as Dr. Ferguson's assistant director, Catherine Scott became an indispensable part of the $1 Million Band. In a field that had been traditionally dominated by men at the college level, Catherine Scott broke new ground for female music educators. Her selection as $1 Million Band director was a landmark for college band programs throughout the nation.
I learned early in my career that I should never feel inadequate if, and only if, I continue to surround myself with exceptional talent. People like Brad Caraway, Ken Ozello, Philip Berryhill, Marion Powell, and now Randall Coleman. And I think it's very important to have mentors as well. I want a team who will not accept mediocrity. As I tell my students year after year, it's so easy to be in a mediocre band. Each year brings a new challenge. There's no doubt about that. However, coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. But working together is success.
You got a shot at being better than good. I really do think you have the opportunity, if you're willing to reach it, to be more than good. And I'd hate to see you squander that. Because you guys you're talented, you're working hard. There's no excuse for just being good. You already got that one whipped. What we're talking about is more than good. What we're talking about is marching and playing better than anybody you see. It is my intention, any band that comes to Legion Field, any band that comes to Denny Stadium, any band that steps on the field with you, it is my intention that they regret ever having stepped off the bus. All right? That's the goal.
Catherine Scott has continued to lead the $1 Million Band in a positive direction. One priority for Ms. Scott is recruiting. She actively recruits students by working with events such as the Alabama Honor Band. In addition, she serves as adjudicator, clinician, and conductor at high school marching and concert festivals throughout the country. Perhaps her most lasting contribution has been the establishment of a scholarship in conjunction with the $1 Million Band Association. This was the first endowed scholarship for $1 Million Band students. Being in a position to continue to attract outstanding talent is important to Scott, who was selected in 1993 as one of the university's top 31 female graduates of the past century.
We average rehearsing once school begins about 10 hours per week. Each afternoon, Monday through Friday, from 4 to 5:30, and then we have a light rehearsal on Saturdays before the games. These kids work that many hours, times so many weeks per fall, in the rain and hot sun. They get a $75 service award for being in the band, and that's all. So you can see it's a labor of love for them. Well, I demand a lot of our students, particularly in cleanliness of drill. You see a lot of big, sloppy college bands, and I try to avoid that at all costs. Maybe I drive them too hard sometimes, but that's real important to me to march clean, play clean.
As new students arrive at Alabama, the first impression these freshmen get is of a nationally renowned band director who has their names memorized and knows something about them before band camp is over. Scott also conducts the basketball pep band at home games and postseason tournament games. What really endears students to Catherine Scott, though, is her belief that band should be a fun experience. She strives to balance performance goals and social objectives to maintain a pleasant, enjoyable environment. Unlike many big-name band directors, Scott is affable and down-to-earth. Students who march under her direction for many years look at Scott as more than a leader, but as a friend.
Listen, folks, I feel really blessed to be able to work with the staff and the band, the quality that you are being this year. I appreciate so much you're putting up with my constant demands and requests and abuse on a daily basis and still maintain a smile on your face. And I thank you and the opportunity that I have to work with you. I hope you know that. I hope you know you're special people. And I know that you've worked very hard to put on a magnificent performance today, and you deserve every bit of any accolades you get. We're going to make sure that crowd feels that today, no matter what. Thank you all. Band. Great people. Great people. We're going to have a super year. I know it. I know it. See ya.
What makes the modern $1 Million Band so special? Well, by taking a look behind the scenes, perhaps we can get an idea why this band is living up to its $1 million tradition. The band's year begins each August with a time known as Band Camp. The members arrive on campus and begin intensive training on their music and marching basics. And just when band members get the hang of Band Camp indoors, the fun moves outdoors into the intense August heat. But regardless of the heat, there's a serious job to be done. The band must learn how to march.
Hi, Cooler, my band camp buddy.
Band Camp is that special time of year that turns this into this. After weeks of perspiration and exhaustion, the big day finally arrives. The $1 Million Band's performance begins with a rousing pregame show in front of a packed stadium of excited fans. members are vocal cheerleaders for the Crimson Tide. The $1 Million Bandsmen are among the team's biggest fans and always do their part to pull the Tide through.
I know of no band, and in fact, I think they were voted the third best in the entire United States. And Catherine and all of the people do a super job, and you know, they work a lot too. During practice, I hear them practicing and playing all those musical songs and tunes that they do, and boy, are we proud of these people.
Finally, halftime arrives, and the band gets a chance to show its stuff to an appreciative audience.
Although their car needs a lot of work, Danny tries to convince his T-Bird gang friends they can make it a hot car by telling them, why, this car is automatic. It's systematic. It's hydromatic. Why, it contains
One thrill for Alabama bands of all eras has been traveling and seeing the country with the Crimson Tide. In the past decade alone, the band has voyaged to New York City, New Orleans, Phoenix, and Fort Lauderdale, just to name a few of their faraway destinations. Wherever the $1 Million Band goes, it always steals the show. Even in enemy territory, the $1 Million Band is one of the most popular and well-received bands in America. One characteristic that today's $1 Million Band shares with its predecessors is the camaraderie between members of the band. The family metaphor best describes this group of 330 individuals from diverse backgrounds who bond together for one common purpose, the sense of loyalty to the band and interpersonal friendships that develop, providing a strong sense of identity and pride. Whether they're riding on the bus, rehearsing, or clamoring for food money, band students feel like a member of the family. Most of the rewards for being in the $1 Million Band are intrinsic. The value of friendships, the spirit of teamwork, the exhilaration of performance, and the pride of membership are just a few of the intangibles that make the band experience unforgettable.
You know, you are a very valuable member of the University of Alabama football team. I hope you understand that. There's an awful lot of people out there that I don't think will ever give you the credit that you deserve, but I promise you, as a staff and as a football team, we understand the importance of the role that you play within the winning tradition here at the University of Alabama. Without you, we couldn't have the rich tradition that we have, and our hats are off to you. Anything we can ever do for you, all you got to do is call on us.
Members of the $1 Million Band are usually fortunate enough to enjoy a more tangible reward, bowl trips. Since the band's first postseason trip to the 1942 Cotton Bowl, the $1 Million Band has attended more bowl games than any other band. At bowl games, the band has had the opportunity to shine, not just for the crowd, but for national television audiences as well. Of course, band members get to enjoy the sights and sounds of the exciting bowl cities to which they travel and to relax in fine accommodations. Wherever they travel, the $1 Million Band serves as a fine ambassador for the football team, the university, and the state of Alabama. Never in recent history has the $1 Million Band had a more amazing performance than at the bowl the Crimson Tide made famous, the Sugar Bowl. Although much about the Million Dollar Band has changed through the years, today's band bears some remarkable similarities to the bands of old. Band members today don't join the band for the token service award, the long hot days of band camp, the long hours of practice each week, the miles of marching exercise, or the 1 hour of course credit. What drives young men and women to devote themselves to such hard work and self-sacrifice is a dedication to excellence. The Million Dollar Band enjoys notoriety with students and alumni that has continued to grow through the years. The Million Dollar Band, America's most famous college marching band, marches into the next century under the able direction of Catherine Scott. With a glorious tradition on which to build, the band continues to present exciting, crowd-pleasing performances. Alabama fans can expect to see the same level of innovation and excellence in the future. The fortunes of the Crimson Tide may vary from year to year, but one thing's for sure, the Alabama Marching Band will still sound like $1 million.
For 1963, queen of the Orange Bowl Football Classic and Festival, blonde and beautiful Virginia Jasper. The Orange Bowl Classic, an American phenomenon, a 10th-day fiesta of thrill. Bands from across the nation are featured in the most spectacular night parade in the world. America's most beautiful girls take part in the gala celebration. The thousands here from Alabama, Oklahoma, and around the globe have much to see and do, enough to fill a lifetime. In addition to the festival's sports spectaculars, they can golf on dozens of courses, enjoy all types of fishing, high-lie, sightseeing, the the world's finest nightlife and entertainment. Or you name it. The University of Oklahoma Sooners Band. Unbelievable floats and costumes. And the theme of this one comes from ancient Rome. Junior High School from York, Pennsylvania. I'll buy those Florida oranges, and 7 days a week. And what makes a parade? Perhaps you'd like to take a close look by yourself. Glamour Parade is the theme section. This year's theme is American folklore. The Vikings and their traces. Dance of the Corn Maidens. Guess who on this one? The Witch of Wellfleet. Johnny, oh Johnny, but this Johnny is Johnny Appleseed. Ever hear of a fella named Rip Van Winkle? This slumbering Rip is surrounded by lovely peasant girls. This folklore depicts the romance of the dismal swamp. Maybe you know the fellow on this float. His name, Pecos Bill. Candy and lollipops highlight this American folklore. It's Big Rock Candy Mountain. This fellow calls himself the Swamp Serpent. And his friends, assorted friends. Her Majesty, Virginia Jasper, Queen of the Orange Bowl.
The Oklahoma Sooners in the Orange Bowl, New Year's Day, 1963. Alabama's Crimson Tide in all white. The Tide's brilliant head coach, Paul Bear Bryant. Alabama warms up. The key man in Bama's offense, Joe Namath, quarterback. Coach Bud Wilkinson, Oklahoma, one of the real greats in football. The Sooner line tunes up. All-American Leon Cross, number 61. The Sooner attack is sparked by quarterback Monty Deere. The nationwide television announcer. Oklahoma's president, Dr. George Cross. With 75,000 spectators on hand and a magnificent sun, President Kennedy arrives by helicopter, honored guest of the Orange Bowl Committee. Photographers are trained on the president, who will toss a silver dollar to start the game. Alabama's captain yells tails as the president flips the coin. And tails it was for Bama's captain and mighty All-American center, Leroy Jordan. Formalities are continued in the center of the field. Alabama will receive, Oklahoma will kick off. Kicking off for Oklahoma is Metcalf. It's a short onside kick. Henry downs it for Alabama on the 42. The Crimson Tide first down. It's Clark over guard for 5. This time it's for Spreel over tackle for 7. The snap from center, and it's Clark around end for 5. Cook on the tackle. Namath at quarterback for Alabama passes, but it's intercepted by Sandersfield for Oklahoma. Sooners ball. Looney around end for 2. Oklahoma's Deere fumbles, but recovers ball. Alabama's ball after forcing the Sooners to punt. Namath passes to Battle for 7. This time it's Clark around end for 5. On a quarterback keeper, it's Namath for 5. Bama moving. It's Martin on a pitch out for 7. Namath goes back to pass, and it's complete to Williamson for 5. Watch this big one. It's Namath back, fakes and passes to Williamson for a Tide touchdown. Oklahoma's ball after that Bama touchdown, and Grissom gets away up the middle for 22. And look closely at this one. It's Fletcher passing for the Sooners. He finds Baumgartner for a gain of 56 yards. This is a key play for Alabama as Oklahoma's Grisham fumbles after a vicious tackle by All-American Jordan. It's recovered by Hooper on the Tide 6. Alabama's ball on their 6. It's Piper for 1 yard. Culwell back to Boot. Hunts down to midfield, and Lee runs it to the 38. Sooner ball. It's Boyles off tackle for 9. Alabama's ball after forcing a kick. Now the Tide fumbles and is recovered by Oklahoma. Sooners ball. It's Grisham over tackle for 5. Here's another key play. Grisham up the middle for 15, fumbles. Alabama recovers. End of the first quarter. Now Bama's ball. It's a reverse, and Wilson rips for 5. It's Namath at quarter. Fires one to Stevens for 18 yards. For Spreel on a draw. Goes for 5. Namath at quarter keeps it. Goes over tackle for a gain of 11 yards. Watch this faking. Where's the ball? Namath completes one to Williamson for 20. This is another big one for the Crimson Tide of Alabama. In slow motion, Clark takes a pitch out around end and sails down the sideline for the Tide's second touchdown. Alabama made the extra point, leads 14-0. Oklahoma now with the ball. Grisham around end for 5. This time it's Oklahoma's lead for 4 yards and the end of the first half. The Orange Bowl Committee now presents its world-famed halftime show entitled A Night on Broadway. Recognize this? Of course, South Pacific. And Oklahoma. And now the Orange Bowl Princesses and the fairest lady of them all, Virginia Jasper, Queen of the Orange Bowl. Starting the last half, Alabama leads 14-0. Oklahoma's ball after the kickoff, and Deere on a quarterback keeper goes over tackle for 15. On this one, it's Grisham over guard for 6. And Grisham again for 6. This time it's Rankin on a handoff, good for 6. Joe Namath again fakes a pass beautifully, decides to run, and it's good for 9. Dropping back to pass. Namath completes one to Williamson for 7. Bama moves with lightning speed. It's Clark for 5. After being stopped at the 3-yard line, Alabama goes for a field goal. Davis' kick is good for 3 points. The score is 17-0. Near the end of the third quarter, Oklahoma is forced to punt. Piper receives it on the 19 and runs it to the 29. Now the last quarter. Alabama's ball. Namath on a keeper around end for 7. After stopping each other in midfield, Oklahoma's ball, and Deere passes to Flynn for 20. It's fullback Jim Grisham for 5. Deere at quarter goes back to pass. Hits Flynn for 15. As time runs out, the Sooners trying hard to score. In slow motion, it's Deere around end. He pitches a lateral to Lee for a gain of 36 yards. Jim Grisham drives over tackle for 6. The mighty Alabama line stopped Oklahoma on the 10. The Crimson Tide is the winner of the 1963 Orange Bowl Classic. A game highlighted with blinding speed and vicious tackling by gallant young men playing for 2 of the nation's great universities and coaches. King Orange springs back to life in a grand finale, highlighted by Circus Aerialists, 100 feet above the Orange Bowl gridiron. The evening is a triple feature of family fun, presented by the Orange Bowl Committee as a public service and tribute to youth. Once again, the Queen of the Orange Bowl Classic caps an exciting evening for the 1963 Orange Bowl Football Classic and Festival.